Hello friends, and welcome back for another video. Thank you so much for taking the time to sharing your time and your space with me here. I'm so glad that you are here. So in today's video, I thought that we would dive a little bit deeper into talking about spiritual practices and how it's almost like, what's the point, right? Because I find that, especially right now, if you're finding yourself, not having a really busy schedule, you might find yourself going down on different rabbit holes, say, while most of us are in quarantine. And part of you might end up feeling really stuck and really almost paralyzed. So I find that sometimes too much information is not such a great thing. So I thought that we would chat with that of what have I done in my own wellness practice that has helped me not be paralyzed, and maybe perhaps you can take some of these practices and apply them to your own wellness journey. So if you wanted to see what has worked during quarantine that has helped me move forward, then just stay tuned and let's get right into it. And before we get started, just a quick reminder, if you are brand new to my channel, well, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and to share your time and your space with me here. I'm so grateful for you. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. We usually chat a few times a week here, and we talk about anything and everything wellness and spirituality, and how we can really reconnect the mind and the body and the soul into one mishmash to really one beautiful wellness sandwich. So if that sounds good, then I think you're absolutely going to love it here. Sometimes we talk about wellness and planning. Other times we talk about spiritual practices, but ultimately the idea is for you to just feel a little bit more empowered at the end. Okay, why don't we just dive right in? Why are we talking about this today? First of all, we're talking about this today because I thought that there's just so much information out there, especially in the last few weeks. There has been just so much, we've been bombarded really with information and documentaries that are just surfacing the internet, and part of you might be absorbing a lot of it, and some of you might just be absolutely paralyzed by it. And so if you're finding that you're being paralyzed by fear and you're paralyzed by the overwhelming amount of information that is coming in, I wanted you to just take a moment and take a step and stop for a moment and really understand how you can discern what is real and what is information that it might be actually serving an underlying agenda that you might not know about. I'm not here to talk to you about, conspiracy theories in any way, shape, or form. That's not the idea of this video. I more wanted to just speak to you from a standpoint of what can you do to give that power back to yourself so that you can move forward and not get stuck. So one of the main things that I have found is I always knew that more information is not always better. So sometimes we get into this mindset that the more you know, the more empowered you are. And I think that it's actually more important for you to have knowledge and wisdom than for you to have information, because information, it can be very biased. So the difference to me is that I can actually use critical thinking, I can use my own discernment, I can tune into my own intuition, and I'm allowing that to weigh in based on what I know, if I need more information, or if what I've gathered is already enough information, and then I can just make my own decision. Ultimately, it will always go back to the information that you're consuming, the content that you're consuming, how will that impact your life? And that's ultimately the big question. So the idea is not for you to be all love and light, especially within the spiritual realm and the spiritual community. A lot of us speak about love and light and connecting to the light and connecting to source, connecting back to originally where you came from, connecting to a higher realm, a higher entity, say, that will allow you to connect, which I think is very important. But if you know any of my teachings, you also know that it's also important for you to come back down, to get grounded, and to see where is your neutral point, because either side of the pendulum is not so great, right? Swinging too much into love and light or swinging too much into the darkness, neither one of those things are good for you, because you're either in complete fear and you're paralyzed, or you're in love and light, which means that you're not really you're not really grasping sort of how your reality is being shaped by current events right now. And we don't necessarily have to go through a pandemic for you to get that. These laws that I'm telling you apply at any point in your life. That is just really, right now, it's just highlighted because it's so apparent. But ultimately, I've seen this so many times within the wellness community, and especially within the spiritual community, when we're constantly looking for that love and light, when we're constantly assuming that if you become aware of something, then that's what we're supposed to be. And that's not really true. The idea is that you're here, which means that you need to connect back to and learning how you can not be swayed or not be thrown off by what you need to do, even if there's love and light and even if there's darkness. So the idea is for you to find that neutral point right in the middle, and you stay grounded within your own truth. So if that sounds too out there for you, I would love to chat with you more about this, and I will be teaching more about this in one of the courses that I will be releasing, when we're really tapping deeper into how do we find that neutral point? What are the practices that sort of allow us to reconnect back to that? But I wanted to at least start that conversation so that you don't feel, one, you don't feel paralyzed, and two, you sort of you kind of trickle all of this information through a filter that will bring it back to your day-to-day of how all of these things that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis, how will that impact your life? Will that impact your tomorrow? And if it will, then what can you do about that today? So that's what it ultimately comes down to. I'm all about empowerment, and anything and everything, the people, the tools, the practices, all of those things, and the information and the knowledge that you can gain, so that you gain that power back, essentially, where you can dismantle what is not true, but then also you can empower and better your tomorrow. You know what I mean? To me, that's what it ultimately comes down to, is to gain knowledge and wisdom in a way that it puts the power back into your own hands, so that you can discern what is right for you. And in so many different areas within the wellness community, whether we're looking at your eating style, your workouts, or your movement, your spiritual practices, you know, your mindset, all of those different things, they need to be individualized. So whenever we're talking about a one-size-fits-all sort of paradigm, we already know that there isn't a lot of truth to that, because we don't all need to eat kale. We don't all need to go to a hot yoga class. We don't all need to become Buddhist. So you kind of get my point. The idea is for you to sort of look at all of these things as sort of like a buffet, and then see where you are on that pendulum, what resonates. You learning that, that's the journey, that's the practice that you need to kind of get yourself involved in, so that you learn what resonates and what doesn't resonate. And if something doesn't feel right, that probably means that it isn't right, which means that you need to kind of look into it a little bit further. But just don't forget where you come from, the knowledge that you have obtained up to this point, because there's a lot of wisdom in your own path. So that was one of the things that I have started doing, is just looking at all of these different things that are available to us right now that sort of piques our curiosity, and then sort of look at it like, okay, how does that impact me right now? And what can I do about it on a very micro or macro level that will impact change in a positive way, in a positive direction? And once you find those answers, because they're all coming from within you, and no matter how many different sources I was looking at to sort of try to get answers, I actually found more answers for my own questions when I went deep within. So doing practices like yoga, meditation, breath work, any of your sacred rituals that will allow you to connect to something greater than you are all great and beneficial, because then that creates stillness, and it creates quiet, and it quiets down that monkey mind that sort of feeds you information on a day-to-day basis. It's you're quieting down the superficial so you can go deeper at a deeper layer, and then you can connect to something, an inner wisdom, sort of say, where you can find your own answers. Nobody will ever really have the true answers for you of what's right for you. You need to discern that for yourself. But getting guidance along the way, getting help along the way, having friends along the way that will support you, those are all important elements that you kind of need to think about. So I just wanted to sort of share this little tidbit because it has been on my mind for a few days, and I wanted to share that from more of a deeper perspective rather than, you know, while I'm happy to talk to you about some of the day-to-day, you know, decisions of like how to choose the right makeup for you, or, you know, how are the different planners differ, I think that also ultimately when we're talking about health and wellness and a wellness journey, I think that it's very beneficial to talk about those things that really impact you on a deeper level, which is ultimately what I always wanted to sort of guide you along anyway. So I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, how are you not getting frozen and stuck in the paradigm that we're in right now, and what are some of the things that are helping you connect deeper? Obviously, there's a lot more things that are out there that sort of help us connect. Music would be one of them. Like any type of creative endeavor is another one. Anything that really ends up raising your vibration is another. But I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know how you're doing and what are the things that are helping you discern or debunk some of the myths that are out there when it comes to your own wellness. Let's start this conversation. I would love to hear from you. Comment below and let me know how you're doing and what are the things that are helping you feel better these days, because in that way we can all sort of, you know, create that community and help one another. And this is all I wanted to share with you. If you found this video helpful and useful, obviously comment below. You can like and share this video if you'd like. And in the meanwhile, keep seeking, you guys. Just keep looking into what is your own truth, because remember, you're just so much more powerful than you think. And I will see you guys again in my next video. Bye!